Hello there, I'm Tom from That's No Moon, and in today's battle report, I take on my friend Tom's CIS list. He calls his list Yes My Master for 790 points. He has Asajj Ventress with Force Push, Saber Throw, Into the Fray, and Defensive Stance. Count Dooku with Force Barrier, Force Push, Force Reflexes, and Vigilance. 3 squads of battle droids with an E5C, 2 squads of battle droids with an HQ uplink, 1 squad of Magna Guard with Into the Fray and Protector, and a naked squad of B2s. And my list was a Luke double T47 list for 798 points. I have a naked Rebel Officer, Jedi Knight Luke with Force Push, Force Reflexes, Jedi Mind Trick, and Into the Fray. 3 squads of naked Rebel Troopers, 3 Snipers, and 2 T47's with the Harpoon and 1 with Shriv. After the turn 0 card flop, we ended up with battle lines, hostile environment, and sabotage the moisture evaporators. I could see Tom deploying all his B1s towards his VAPs on his half of the table. As I outnumber him and I can see that we've massively split the board on our objective placement, I knew that I would be able to force him to confront my army. As I'm the red player, I know that I win on a points tie, so there's no incentive for me to take the lead on the charge, so I could just sit and let him make the first move. I saved my T47's and Luke till the last deployments, as my plan was to use the T47's to throw out some heavy fire into the Sith before they can do too much damage. My game plan was clear. As the red player, I know that Tom would have to play somewhat aggressively, so if I can take out Dooku, Asajj, a Magna Guard, and the B2 without losing Luke or the T47's, I would win on points. So with this plan in my mind, I decided to pluck out the command card for turn 1 and dive right in. Tom divulges Asajj's card and took the Makashi Mastery. Giving Asajj this mastery was a little bit concerning, because having 2 units that can ignore my immune to pierce meant that I was going to have to play quite smart with Luke. I knew as the command cards came down for turn 2, I'm going to have to either be rolling off against a 1-pip with Asajj, or Dooku's cunning just straight up trump what I play. So with this in mind, I decided to give my 3 orders to Luke and both T47's so that I could wait and see how he plays. Same way with most games, turn 1 was mostly for positioning, with Tom using his B1 Horde to double move to his Vaporators, whilst keeping range 1 chain alive so that he could have perfect order control across the majority of his list. I used my snipers to get some early wounds on B2s as they started to move back across the field to join Dooku and Asajj. I took this opportunity to move my first T47 with its compulsory move, then aim and shoot. With Surge to crit and Impact 3, it left one of the B1 models on a single wound. This felt like a good start to the attrition war that was inevitably coming. Tom pulls Asajj and double moves her over the U-wing and down to take cover by the engine and stay in heavy cover, with dodges looking ready to pounce for the next turn. I managed to activate a sniper on the ruins in my deployment zone. With Sharpshooter, I get 1 through cover, relying on the natural defense dice, because high velocity means that she can't spend her dodges. He managed to save, which left me a little worried that maybe that's a sign of the dice to come. Next, the Magna Guard take a double move up to the other engine of the U-wing, looking ready to make a charge with Dooku in the next turn. At this point, I was thinking that Tom might play a little bit more defensively with Dooku, and then next turn he could play aggressively and dive in. So I decided to activate my second T47. Shriv dishes out a dodge to Luke and then double moves to shoot Asajj. After dodge and cover, she only has 2 hits to defend. This time, the dice gods are in my favour, getting 2 wounds through on Asajj, leaving her in a slightly vulnerable spot, with Luke still to activate in turn 1. With only Dooku left, he decides to play aggressively and he double moves him up to support his apprentice. Thinking I might not get another opportunity like this, I decide to aggressively double move Luke up. Using Force Push, I move Asajj out of cover so that she's not touching the terrain and can't remove suppression at the start of the next round. All of this feels like the perfect setup for I Am a Jedi. Tom predicted my I Am a Jedi play and threw out Dooku's 3-pip, You Disappoint Me. I think this was also to get Asajj and the Magna another dodge, and ignoring the ability to perform a move with defending units. Obviously with I Am a Jedi, Dooku and Asajj aren't able to make attacks this turn. Even though Tom read this play, it felt good to disarm both Asajj and Dooku for a turn. With the priority on his side, Tom activates Asajj, who failed to rally either of her suppression, so he moved her into melee with Luke, tokened up with reflexes and the dodge from her card, and then pushed a squad of rebels off the Vaporator into melee with her. Drawing a sniper, I decide to take advantage of an out-of-cover Dooku, who guardianed a crit onto the Magna, take one wound from Pierce. Realising that Dooku is in a vulnerable position, Tom decides to move him into melee with the same rebel troopers as Asajj to try and be as safe as possible. Now that Dooku and Asajj have activated, I decide it's time to start moving some of Tom's Sith so that I can get shots on them. I choose to activate Luke. Luke pushed Asajj into no man's land, and then moves out of the melee ball, reflexes and takes a dodge, and then he mind tricks to add one more suppression to Asajj. I mainly do this because now I'm forcing Tom to play Asajj's recover card for the next round. Luke feels a little bit vulnerable from the Magna Guard, but with 2 surges from Into the Fray and 2 dodges, I'm pretty confident he'll be okay. Taking a break from the headache of my side of the board, Tom starts to work on his VAPs. I pull my commander, who inspires suppression off the rebels who were demoralised from Asajj. The commander takes a potshot at Asajj, if nothing, just to add another suppression. Tom now moves into range of my snipers with some B1s, and gives the B1 slot machine a whirl. Rolling hot, Tom manages to get 3 past low profile cover 3, but continuing the trend of the hot white dice, my commandos roll out completely unscathed. I pull the rebels who are in combat with Dooku and withdraw them, now leaving both Dooku and Asajj out in the open. Tom's forced to activate his Magna Guard, and he charges them into the rebels that are on the VAP. They've not hit this VAP, so it's still neutral. They kill all but the unit leader. I manage to roll a crit with a sniper to finish off the B2, and Tom continues to work on the objectives. I finally draw a T47 and I decide to aim and shoot at Asajj. I land 3 crits. Dooku barriers 1, Asajj's outmaneuver lets her spend a dodge on a second, that just leaves her 1 to defend and manages to block. I was really hoping an attack would finish her off. Tom continues to attack the snipers, who I'm starting to think are never going down. They're consistently blocking roll after roll. Pulling my second T47, I flank round to get a second shot on Asajj. I'm hoping that I can just get her off the table at this point. With no aim, I manage to get a full 6, down to 5 with the cover. Tom gets a miracle roll and blocks everything. At this point, I'm starting to think that Asajj is going to roll her way out of this turn and survive to the next round with only a couple of activations left. I decide to take a repair action and then a heavy cover shot at Asajj just to add another suppression. My final squad of rebels move to get a better shot, and I get a crit through cover and she takes another wound. Finishing this round, I was hoping to get Asajj off the table, but it tells me that Tom's going to be wanting to play her recover card for turn 3. It felt like a risk not playing the objectives at this point just to shoot the Siths. But to me, that felt like the best option as long as I could stop them getting through to my lines. I realised looking at my command cards that I wasn't going to win a 1-pip tie. As I didn't manage to take either Sith off the table, I thought it would be best to play full of surprises, giving me additional white dice. Although I can't rely on them to save me from the Pierce, it would be a good choice. As I thought, Tom played I Am Fear, giving Asajj a recover, but also, more worryingly, the blast spray weapon for a double tap. Thankfully, I won the priority roll-off. As always, like all good CIS players, Tom pops the B1 chain and orders Asajj. I activate Luke, take a dodge action, and charge into Asajj. I only land 3 hits, but luckily, his are all blanks and Asajj is down. This feels like a turn for me in the game, as I've not lost a full activation and he's down Asajj and a B2 squad, so now he's going to have to play more aggressively with the B1s to keep himself in the game. Still having 2 Luke 1 pips and a 2 pip, I'm now confident that I can take on Dooku before he can take Luke down. Activating Dooku, Tom makes an attack on my rebel commander. This was to keep Dooku safe in melee if he can't kill her. He lands 3 hits on my commander, and that instantly does 3 wounds. I pull my commander from the stack, and I instantly disengage her to leave him as vulnerable as possible. Continuing, Tom puts an important wound on one of my Vaporators with his Magna Guard. He then fires into the objective holding rebels, who again have a miracle roll and take no wounds. I'm not sure what I did to please the dice gods at this point in the game, but I can't imagine that I'll be having this luck again anytime soon. Pulling a core, I clear the last wound off that Vap, and I take a shot into the Magna, only giving them a suppression. Knowing he needs to make a play with the B1s, Tom starts moving up and taking shots into my snipers again. This time, landing more than a couple of crits, and I lose my first squad of snipers. Taking my first T47 compulsory, I aim and shoot at Dooku, getting 3 crits and 1 hit after cover. He takes 2 on the Magna, and spends a dodge, and takes a single wound. Again continuing to move the B1s, Tom takes a heavy E5C shot into a low profile sniper, and lands a massive natural 5 crits. I was convinced these guys were toast, but I managed to keep just the unit alive with another miracle roll on white dice. Drawing the sniper that lived, I moved up and took a shot at the Magna Guard to get another hit through with Pierce. Shortly after this, the B1s moved up and took him out, but at that point, he'd done his job and earned his points. The second T47 activates, pivots, gets 5 hits down to 3 for cover, takes a wound on Dooku. To round out the turn, I move up another squad of naked rebels and get another shot off on the Magna Guard. Going into this turn, I know that I need to play aggressively, so I pull Son of Skywalker. As expected, Tom plays Fear, Surprise and Intimidation, giving him relentless and versatile. With Cunning, Tom gets to go first, and to my surprise, Dooku decides to take care of my core over attacking Luke. Dooku dispatched 1 squad of core with his lightsaber and leaves a second on a single man, pushed him back into melee to try and bubble wrap him, keep him safe from those T47's. I take this opportunity to try and kill the Magna Guard. Luke aims, charges, and with his double attack I get the Magna Guard off the board, whilst keeping Luke in base contact with the wounded Vaporator. Now resigned to just using B1s, Tom is starting to double move up the board. I draw my 1 rebel trooper and I disengage from Dooku, and I start working my way towards the other Vap. After some more B1s, the T47 takes a pivot and attack on Dooku, getting another wound through. Starting to realise perhaps too late that he needs to get the B1s to take down a T47, Tom moves up and shoots. It's all sucked up by armour. I then activate my second T47, compulsory move, aim shoot, that is the end of Dooku. At this point in turn 4, the writing is truly on the wall, only having the B1s left with no impact on the table to force through any wounds. It was the start of turn 5, Tom realised that he couldn't make it, and he called the game there, as I could either bunker down to avoid his attacks altogether, or I could try and push for the table. I'm not sure I'd have quite the dice to do that, but it was a fun game nonetheless. There's a couple of takeaways from this game that I think you can learn from. As the blue player, you need to play slightly more aggressively. I wouldn't split my forces quite so much on the B1 horde, as they were out of the action for a large point of the game, and although they were doing the objective, the same thing could have been done with less units. The second takeaway would be to utilise the Makashi mastery a little bit more against Luke. Until next time, thanks for watching.